I'm Amanda.
And I'm Missy, and this is Real Sisters Rewind.
Join us as we go back to the 80s. All right, everyone, we are so lucky to have a very special guest with us today. Our guest was the co-writer of the music for the Academy Award-winning song, I Had the Time of My Life from Dirty Dancing, Mr. Donnie Markowitz.
Woo-hoo! We are so excited you are here with us. We are ready to jump in and learn, aren't we, sister?
Yes, an honor to have
So honored
here with us. And I do want to just say quickly how I have this wonderful connection is I had the privilege of teaching Donnie's son when he was in the 3rd grade, and he was just a joy. Yes, such a joy in my life, and it was so fun getting to know their family when I was teaching back before the COVID times. So thank you so much for being here with us. And it looks like, are you in your studio?
I'm in my studio in Mid-City, New Orleans.
Right. Coming to us from New Orleans, where I am.
The only thing I can say, I'm so used to calling you Miss Amanda, that I find it hard to just call you Amanda, but I'll do my best.
Yes, you can just call me Amanda. You do not have to call me Miss Amanda or Miss Stevens or any of that. Okay, here's my first question for you. And it's so funny. We've known each other for a long time.
Yep.
And even before I was your son's teacher, you knew my husband through baseball at
Yeah,
the
we
park
coached
and all that.
the Little League together.
Yes. And so we've never really talked about any of this. And it's also fascinating to me. So my first question that we're wondering is, how did you even become involved with the project of this particular song? Like, how did this all happen?
Well, it was a simple twist of fate that I was playing softball with a friend of mine, and he knew that I had a little recording set up in my apartment in New York City. And his name is John D. Nicola, and he asked me if I wanted to write a song for a movie, which I had never done before. I was a working bass player in New York City at the time, and this is back in 1986. And so I said, sure. So he came over. So as is always the case, it was up, I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, and the bedroom was my studio, and I lived in the rest of it. So it had to be, if it was a mess, I would have probably said, no, let's not do it, but it was okay. So I said, yeah, come on over.
My apartment's clean, so yeah, I'll do a song.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
The apartment was okay, and but so we were talking about it, and he told me what the parameters were, that it had to be 5 to 6 minutes long, start off slow, get into a dance groove, sound like it could be 1962 or 1987. And
Interesting.
A little bit of a challenge there.
that was the assignment, to write a song like that. And I'd written songs for the bands, the rock and roll bands that I had played in over the few years before that. But like I said, I wasn't in the songwriting business or knew anybody in the film business. It was just random. And so before John came over to the house, to the apartment, I sat down and I wrote it in 20 minutes. I just sat down, and the music came out in 20 minutes. And he came over, and we put some sprinkles on this and that and this and that and this. And then we submitted it and gave it to Frank Previtt, who is the lyricist. And he was listening to the cassette of what we had done, driving down the New Jersey Turnpike, and came up with the lyrics in his head. So we
Wow.
got together at my apartment, made a demo, and submitted it. And I didn't hear anything, and that was my whole connection to the project was that way. So I knew nobody, and I didn't read the script, but I knew, you know, it took place in the Catskills, and it was, you know, roughly 1962, and blah. And I'd been to Grossinger's, which was a popular resort back then. When I was little, my grandparents had taken us there, and for some reason I had a memory of it. But nonetheless, you know, we didn't hear anything, and then a couple weeks later they said, "Oh, they loved it. It's going to be in the movie, and here's $5,000, and you guys keep the publishing," which in the business means you keep the ownership of it, which is really cool because we get paid to this day royalties. And
We were
usually,
going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
yeah, usually film companies will give you more money, but keep the publishing, and yes, you do
Right.
okay. But this was one where it was a small film company and they didn't have much of a budget. So that was a reasonable deal to me. And I didn't even know what was or what wasn't, but said, okay. So nonetheless, that was it. So I heard the song's going to be in the movie. And finally, one day towards the end of the year, I get a single in the mail, and they recorded it with Bill Medley and Jennifer Warnes in Los Angeles. And I listened to it and I said, wow, look at that. They made a record out of my song. And I said, wow, that's pretty good. Bill Medley was from the Righteous Brothers. And I'm going,
Yeah.
wow, that's
Cool.
cool. You know, and Jennifer Warnes, she was had a couple of hits back then, was a big session singer in Los Angeles. So I was like, wow, I got a record, a real live record. My name's on and everything, you know, and still didn't hear from anybody or anything, you know, connected with the movie. And
Wait. I have a question. I got to back up for a second. When they told you it needed to be like it could sound like it was from the early 60s or
yeah,
the 80s,
yeah,
how much of a challenge was that? Because one of the questions I was going to ask you, because so much of the music in the movie is from that time period.
yeah.
And so did that like hinder you at all? Or did that, I mean, obviously not. You wrote
Did
it,
it
you
in
said it was
20
like 20
minutes.
minutes. But
Yeah.
that seems so difficult to me to like pair those two.
Well, I like to say it took me 20 years to be able to write it in 20 minutes. But
Oh.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
But I looked at it analytically, where, okay, what was going on musically in the pop world in 1962? It was before the Beatles. So a lot of that, and what was going on in those resorts was a lot of Latin music. Tito Puente and those guys were playing in 1962. So it was a Latin influence. And
Oh,
so that's where that came from. And I was influenced by who else but Michael Jackson, and that was going on in
Sure.
1987,
yep.
right?
Yes.
And so the Quincy Jones and the rhythms that were going on in the mid to late 80s, you know, were very influential in putting it all together.
Yeah.
Plus, with the technology that we had at the time, to be able to do something in an apartment was very elementary compared to today, where
Right.
anybody can do it if they have a Mac computer.
Yeah.
So
So, and you're from up there, right? Are you from New York?
I'm from Queens, from New
Okay.
York City, Jackson Heights.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I'm sorry, I interrupted you. So you got this and you got the
Got the
tape.
record.
Yeah, you got it in the
Yeah, so
mail.
we got it, played it, and I said, wow, this was great. And I heard they were going to release it, and in the springtime. and still no contact with anybody, blah, blah, blah. At the time, my first wife and I walked down to Tower Records
Yes.
on 65th Street and Broadway at the time. And it was now, this was like in August, and they had announced the release of the film and the release of the album. And on Billboard magazine that week, there was a little picture of the Dirty Dancing album about to come out. And so we're walking around Tower Records. Remember, this is August of '87, and the movie is just coming out.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're in Tower Records, and who's in the shop but you know, oh, what's the guy's name again? Liza Minnelli and Arthur.
Dudley Moore.
Dudley Moore.
Dudley Moore.
I'm sorry, I blanked out. So Dudley Moore's in the store. And my ex-wife knew him from something, and she went over to him and said, look, this is his first thing in business. And he looked at it and said, see you at the Oscars.
Oh
So,
my.
That's cool, you know, I didn't really put two and two together, right? So the movie comes out, and I go and see it at the local theater on Broadway and 83rd Street on the Upper West Side, pay my $3.50.
Oh,
And
yes.
I went with my ex-wife and her sister, watched it, and I thought, wow, that's pretty cool, you know, seemed like a chick flick. But, you know, when it got to the end and my name appeared, everybody was excited, and we left, right? And finally, you know, the months go on, and we would walk down to Tower Records every Saturday when it came out to get the Billboard magazine.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, you know, it's number 57. And I say, oh, come on, just make it to the top 40, you know, and then it would be number 42. And then it would be, and by November of '87, no, around Thanksgiving time, it was number one.
Number
Yep.
one. Casey Kasem's
around the
American
world.
Top 40.
Yeah, it was amazing. The album was number one, and below it said Dirty Dancing, then Bruce Springsteen, then Michael Jackson, then George Harrison. Those were always, and we were above it, you know, above them. And I still have that somewhere, that billboard. But it's it was quite a surprise, because it was not, you know, it was really I don't know.
Who knew?
Who knew? You know, it's just circumstances and opportunities. And, you know, I like to say that, you know, what made that movie really popular were two things: my bass line and Patrick Swayze's butt.
I love it. I love it. So thinking about that, what you just told us, that whole like
Yeah.
process that you went through, and then you were like, oh my gosh, you know, this is now on the billboard and it's number one. Was there a moment through that time, or maybe after even, where it really hit you that like, this is a big deal, like this is becoming a part of Americana, like this is becoming in the pop culture vault? This is a big deal. Was there a moment where that really hit you, or do you think it just kind of happened gradually over that time?
You know, it still hasn't hit me really, that I seem like I'm a guardian of this thing that's connected to me. And it's, whenever I think about it, the scale can be out of control. You know, in other words, The song is 4 minutes and 47 seconds, and it's been around 37 years, and it's been listened to 1 billion times.
Wow.
And so if you multiply the amount of times people have actually listened to it, the amount of time people have sat and listened to that song and were happy, you know, or dancing, or was part of a wedding
Yes.
or a memory. It's like, whoa, that's pretty cool. So that's hard to fathom, you know. So I just look at it when I have the Oscar, I've never cleaned it because anybody that's ever held it, I got their energy on it and they always smile. And 99.8% of the people that have picked it up have always said the first thing, wow, that's heavy. You know, and I feel it's just, you know, I'm part of it, but it's just like, did I explain myself? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes.
That almost makes me cry.
Beautifully. I know.
That's
Right.
really
The
beautiful
joy it has brought
to
Yeah,
so
to
many people.
generations.
yeah.
That makes me think of the story I wanted to ask you because this actually, when I was with our friend Erin, she was telling me about this yesterday. And Missy, I shared this with you also.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you. She was at Mardi Gras this year, and your daughter happened to be with the group that they were all with at the parade. And one of the floats came by, and the theme was, I had the time of my life. And the music was playing, and all the adults were singing, and they were so excited, and they were into it. And Erin said she looks over at your daughter, and she kind of has this little grin, you know, knowing. And she said she wondered in that moment, I wonder if Donnie's kids like know that this is such a big deal because of the age gap. And um have they even seen the movie? Do they know it's a big deal, or are they just kind of like, whatever?
My dad.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
they're actually the young ones, Sam and Sadie, are proud of it. You know, they're at that point where, you know, the I can tell that it's something that makes them proud. And they
Sure.
get a kick out of the some of the music that I do and the musicians and the stuff around that they enjoy that.
They
But
do.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
great.
Where do you keep the Academy Award? I know you brought it to show us today,
no,
but is
it's
it
right
in
here.
its home place?
Yeah, it's just in my studio where I work.
Love it. Love it. And you won a Golden Globe as well. Yes. Is it right
Yeah.
next to it? Let's see.
Absolutely.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Golden
Yeah. All right. Let's
Globe.
take a picture with it. Ready?
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Wow. Yeah.
So you have to tell us because we've never talked to someone that's been to the Golden Globes or the Academy Awards.
Right. Like, what was it like when how did you find out you were nominated? What was that like? What were the events like? Like, give us the scoop.
Well,
Yes.
the first one was the Golden Globes, and that was the most fun
Because
because
everybody gets snockered at the Golden Globes,
you're
right?
there with the people that made them at a table at
Yeah.
the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Los Angeles, and your table is the Dirty Dancing table, and
So fun.
there's a Moonstruck, I think, was one of the tables there in that year, and the people that were in other movies, Princess and the Bride people, and it was all, you know, it was really cool. I'll tell you, it was fun to sit there, and I don't drink anymore, but I did at the time, and everybody did sit around and drink and have a good old time, and my speech was off the cuff when we won, and it was really fun. And you know, but you look around and go, wow, look at that Cher over there, or
Yeah.
Robin Williams, and you start looking at these people, and I'm thinking, man, I'm breathing the same air as they are right now. That's kind of wild, you
Yeah.
know, because like I said, I didn't grow up in the showbiz family, and I'm the only one that actually I'm like the black sheep of the family, because everybody else are doctors and lawyers, and my grandfather was a judge. So it's kind of hard to take myself seriously in comparison to everybody else in my New York Jewish family, right?
Yeah.
So it was like I was playing music and doing all this stuff, and my mom would say, when are you going to get a real job? You can't be doing that all the time, and blah, blah, blah. And then I win an Oscar. And then the next day she calls me and said, did you write another song today or what?
All of a sudden they're all in with your career.
Just what do you think,
When you're at that table, are you sitting with like Patrick Swayze,
Yeah,
all the people?
the
And
producer.
how were they? Give us the scoop.
Oh,
Were they
Patrick Swayze
warm?
yeah, Patrick Swayze was a really sweet guy. His wife Lisa was really a lovely woman, and there wasn't anybody that I met that was connected to it. And I didn't have any kind of real close relationship with anybody, but they were all just wonderful people. There were nice stories, and everybody was thrilled with the ride. Nobody expected it. It was just a low budget movie that was supposed to go to straight to videotape.
Yeah.
And that's the best kind, when it's a surprise like that.
Yeah.
It was a surprise. So anything that happened with it to this day, I mean, I've always, when I was 8, I just wanted to be involved in music for my life, for my career. If I couldn't be in the Beatles, I just wanted to go to work doing music. And I didn't know how, but I did. I accomplished that. And that's something that, I'm really grateful for. And the time of my life gave me the opportunity to do nothing but music. And I've had Mercedes and fancy cars and done that stuff, but it's the little socks that I see lying around the house. Oh, music paid for that. Music paid for the socks, or the little toys, or
Yeah.
the everyday stuff came from just doing music. So to this day, if somebody calls me up, like when you call, I thought my first reaction, oh, maybe they need to use the studio for something. It's like anybody wants to work with me still at my age. I'm going, wow, that's awesome. So it's really been a blessing.
Well, I have to say, I do a lot of work with in the motivational space, right? I
Mhm.
do keynote speaking. I work with John Maxwell, the #1 motivational speaker on the continent. But I have to say, your story really does go far beyond writing a hit song, winning an Oscar and a Golden Globe, because what you just said is inspiration for anyone who has something on their heart that they just want to do for the rest of their life, right? They
Yeah,
just want to do it for the rest of their life. And so if somebody's listening and they've got this burning desire in their heart, this passion, what is your advice to them?
that you got to do it because that's what you're here for. I mean,
Mm,
I believe it comes from God,
yeah,
or the
me
way,
too.
or however you want to call, in your particular faith or the way you look at it. And you just have to be open to it. And my feeling is that I don't write this music. I'm just open to being a vessel for it.
Beautiful.
And, you know, and if you recognize that at an early age, why you're here, and I knew it was to do music. I look for the same thing in the young people that I work with today that come through in New Orleans, because there's millions of them. And they all want to be musicians or this or that, but there's some that they can't, you just know they can't do anything else but music. That's what they're here for. And they may not be the best singer or the best saxophone player or the best, but they have that thing within them that if they follow it, they'll get there where they're, but you don't want to stop it,
Yeah.
you know, and block it.
So
You know,
good.
that's what we call Satan, you know.
Yeah.
For
Like,
you,
telling
So
you you
good.
can't do it, you'll never get there, don't do it. And that's based on fear, you know.
Yeah.
yep,
You
Yeah.
got
right.
that feeling that my gut says, you know, I would draw pictures of guitars when I was a little kid, you know. It was just, I knew, and I want to find those kind of young people like you do, like both of you guys do, and show them, yeah, this is, you can do this,
Yeah.
but you have to be practical. You have to think about the business side of things and protect yourself.
Yeah.
And, you know, got to go to school. So
Gotta go to school.
So good.
Got to go
So
to
good.
school.
Donnie, are
Yeah.
you, I was curious because you talk about being so young. Are you self-taught, a self-taught musician?
Yeah.
Or do you take music class or both?
I know I taught myself everything.
Wow.
Wow.
I never went to, I
Talk
went to
about a
school
God-given gift.
Yeah.
where, yeah, that's what I think. But because I went to school, I went to NYU to study film, but because I didn't want to study music because they didn't teach rock and roll at the time and the kind of music that I wanted to learn. And which is, you know, you can say it's good, bad, but it's partly lazy. You know, I wish I knew more than I know, but it just the more theory and knowledge you have about something, it just expands your mind.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
The
And that's
knowledge is like
what
Velcro. It
yeah,
just sticks. It's sticky. Two things I was thinking about real quick, back to the Academy Awards. One, when you said you saw Dudley Moore and Tower
yeah.
Records,
Oh yeah,
that's who
I
announced
know.
the best song or whatever it's exactly
yeah. Let me
Talk
called.
tell
about a
you
God
that.
moment.
I
He was the
forgot
one
about
who
that.
announced it.
Yes.
I'm sitting in the hotel room the night before the Oscars, and I'm looking down the list in the paper of who the presenters are. And it
Yes,
gets
present.
down to best song, and I go, holy smokes, it's Dudley Moore. And I think, and
Gosh,
Liza
what a
Minnelli, right?
moment.
And I mean, that's when you realize, you know, come on, that you just gotta, it's like riding a wave and you're a surfer and you just get so comfortable on that wave, it just keeps rolling. And that's what happens with this tune. You never know what's gonna happen,
Yeah.
you know? And sure enough, Dudley Moore announces the song, and as we're walking off the stage, I said to him, "Hey, remember we met at Tower Records and blah blah blah," and stuff. And he kind of remembered. So it was really full circle. That was for sure.
Wow. I love a full
I
circle moment.
We
Yeah,
love a full circle. So we're not going to keep you too much longer. It's wonderful having you. I know we're taking a lot of time, but I just like a couple more things.
yeah.
One is, do you think that Patrick Swayze was a little jealous that you all took the Academy Award and he did not have that quite success with She's Like the Wind?
She's like the wind. It didn't have his bass.
That's right. If he had used your music, then maybe. No, I'm just teasing. Um, there was something else I was going to ask you about. Missy, did you have anything else?
Well, we're talking about the 80s, right? This is real
Yes,
Sisters
yes.
Rewind. And so do you have a favorite movie?
That's
Or
what I was
is this your favorite movie from the 80s? Like when you think back to that time? Because man, they just don't make them like they used to.
Yeah, you know what was I remember at the time RoboCop was playing at the same time, and that was the double at the movie theater on Broadway. It was playing Dirty Dancing and RoboCop. I like that, and The Hunt for Red October was always one of my favorite. I don't know if that was in the 80s or 1990, but it was around that time.
It was
Yeah.
back then.
That
It was
stuff.
Yeah.
back there.
Back then.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, we just appreciate having you so much. And it's been so fun talking with you about this
Oh,
and
thank
kind of
you.
getting the background and just your experience has been so inspirational. Tell us real quick what you're doing. Tell a little bit about what you're doing now.
Well, I'm working on a project for a woman named Ashley Abruzli,
Hmm.
Right?
and we're co-writing 5 songs for an EP for her to release. And
What type
she's,
of music? What genre?
I like to call it chill hop, where it's kind of groove music, what we might say back in the day was elevator music.
Okay.
So now I'm elevating elevator music to where if you were in an elevator and you heard this, you'd be in one of those elevators where it was all glass windows and you're looking around and you're just going up and up and up to the sky. And the music that would be playing in that elevator ride would be what we're creating.
Wow.
Perfect.
Love it. Love it. Okay. So, Amanda, I have the real final question,
Okay,
kind of
sorry,
as
go
a
ahead.
play off from your question that
Yes.
Eric gave
Yeah.
you. Okay. So, Donnie,
Yeah,
when you think back on your life, you've been to the Oscars, you've been to the Golden Globes. I mean, you've had a lot of great experiences. What experience in your life was the time of your life?
I like to think that the last experience that I had that was awesome, where I did have the time of my life, just happened within the last few weeks. My family and I went to South Korea.
Oh,
My
wow.
wife's Korean, and her parents graciously took us all to Korea, all 4 of us, and we met them in Seoul. And the first night we were in Seoul, we take a walk. We had an Airbnb. Get out of the hotel, and it's in a neighborhood. We're not in central tourist area. It's just where Carol's mom grew up in Seoul. We even found her old house. And so we first night there, we're taking a walk, and we noticed there's down these steps, there's a little record shop. And I look down the step, and above me, there's the Beatles. And then I look further down the steps, and on the entrance door, they have all these albums taped up onto the wall. And one of them is Dirty Dancing.
No way.
And I got pictures to prove it. And I'm thinking, what does that tell? I mean, in the middle of Seoul, South Korea, nowhere, 7,000 miles away.
Mm.
There it is again. The first night I can't get away from it, nor do I want to, but it's just, wow, it was just,
That ripple effect.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then, so I would have to say my time in Korea with the family was just, I mean, we just got back and it was awesome. So
Well, I'll
that
tell
was
you what, I've had the time of my life here with you guys today. How
I
much
know.
fun has
as
this been?
well. It was,
I love knowing that this is like something that's really, it stays with you and you really
Yeah.
have this love for this experience and this song. And it's really sweet. I love that.
thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to meet both of you. Well, meet Amanda and to meet you, Missy.
It's nice to meet you too, Donnie. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah,
We
if you think of anything else, just call me back, No
Okay,
big-
we will.
We will. Thank you. And I hope to see you soon. Please give everybody hugs for me.
Same. Say hey, Eric.
All
Okay.
right. Bye.
Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.